we'll finish off with My Hero.
My Hero Academia, number 291. Thanks for going strong. That's a pretty.
Can you believe, man, that this series has been in publication for, like 7 years almost at this point? Well, it's taking a 2-week break after this, but, if it ran through basically all the way to the end of the year, it would essentially be we're 6 weeks out of the year, so you'd be at like 297, 298-ish. And 300 from a 52-week perspective. I know they take breaks. It's crazy. 7 years, man. 7 years of My Hero Academia. 5 seasons coming out soon. I guess season 5, will be coming out pretty soon.
2 movies.
It's crazy, man. This series has come like a very long way, and it's hard to believe that it's going to be celebrating 7 years soon.
I mean, it's definitely a big.
Good for them, though. The team behind it now, and it's hard to believe that an ex assistant to Oda is here and celebrating his own, and will be celebrating his own 7 years very soon.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a big moneymaker. I mean, the story itself is great. You got the show, 2 movies, video games. It's huge, man. It's massive in the West here just because of the whole superhero theme itself. So, yeah, I mean, it's great, man. I'm really liking it. And what do you thought of this chapter? Like, how you want to start it off? Like, I don't even know where to begin.
So, last week I talked about how some of my favorite parts of My Hero have been the delving further into Endeavor's story as a person, as a father, his character development, all that type of stuff. And to be honest, I just love that there's more of it here. The most interesting types of characters are always the ones that are slightly flawed and are trying to kind of,
better themselves.
They're unable to break out of that flaw without certain stimuli, and you're kind of watching how they go about it, and that's kind of what we get here. First of all, I think young Toya has like a great character design. First of all, and I think there's something so interesting to me about this first panel and the way he's standing, where it's kind of like, when you look at your old photos of yourself as a kid, and you kind of think to yourself, oh, that's kind of how I used to look, or that's who I used to be, but you can't really associate with that life anymore. That's exactly kind of the feeling that I get here, is this is who he was, this is what was in store for him, but there's no connect with that in any way, shape, or form. Even the way it just starts is he died. This is what he was. This is what he was remembered.
Yeah, the first page. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but the first page, you see the burning, and then right after you see someone in ashes, right? Like they put in the
it's an urn. Yeah. Exactly, right. And it's like, oh, they say it burned at over 2,000 degrees Celsius and stuff like that. So right off the bat, this chapter caught me with that, and that's kind of, I guess, my just general thought. I want more of this because I want to see more on Endeavour, so I've been enjoying it. Damn it, I had a thought and it just kind of escaped me very briefly.
I guess I'll pick it up from there. Seeing Endeavour kind of, at least for reading his thoughts, talking about the past, I don't want to say he was more happy, but I guess his, firstborn, you don't see an Endeavour, because the first time you see Endeavour, he's very cold, as silly as that sounds, cold and hard, hardened.
Yeah, the hero of flame is, he's a cold, exactly.
Yeah, but when you actually see him, you kind of see a slight, he's a little bit proud of his son, and stuff like that. I mean, he didn't want he didn't want the child he perfectly wanted, but he was content, he was happy. I mean, he was oh man, my son has a greater fire than mine, and obviously because it's blue, right? Blue's it's the center of the flame, when you turn on your oven, so it's and I can believe I mean, I don't have kids, right? But I would imagine you have your firstborn, you're very much this is my child, this is my future. But he also knows his flaws, where he put his passion into Toya, or his desires, kind of when a parent
he put his
his ambitions. There we go. That's the word. We're I don't know. It's similar to me, and okay, well, I can't accomplish my dream. I'm gonna push that onto my son, and obviously that probably went too far. So, and it's kind of funny that I don't know if you saw on page 3, I guess, where you see his second born, and then you see Toya trying to touch her, and then you see Endeavor kind of like stop him a little bit. I don't know why, just kind of.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really catch that.
That's probably just a little cute detail, but yeah, seeing Endeavor. I mean, again, still a flawed like father, you know, but it's just you see more of him of like not tendered, but like okay, like this is yeah, we just haven't seen that side where like yeah, again, he's still passionate about his like drive and like towards his like what he's putting towards his like son.
Yeah, well then that's exactly it, right?
And I feel like Toya dying definitely hardened him more and like pushed his other kids further away because what he was looking for now, like I need to look for this, I can't deal, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it, right? And that's kind of a big part of this kind of, I guess, chapter is you're seeing how contrasted his relationship with Toya is. Like look at Toya on just even the second page, right? Like this kid's got a big old grin.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Dad, like, you know, teach me an ultimate move, right?"
That callback, and then we see that towards the end, don't we? Oh shit.
Oh yeah, which was also ironic.
Yeah, we'll talk about that towards the end, but yeah.
But with oh my god,
Endeavor.
Shoyo.
Oh, Shoyo, yeah.
Sorry, there's not that same desire to learn from him. He was trying to shun him. He didn't even want to use the fire, right? He hated his dad so much. So it's just very interesting to see how like contrasted basically these two kids are, and how different their relationship with their father was. It's also there's definitely an irony to the fact that, you know, Toya's passing, well, in quotations now, obviously, led to such a dramatic difference in the relationship with Shoto, because it's just like, you know, it just doesn't make sense.
But
it does make sense, but you know what I'm saying.
And it's going back to that little flashback, I guess, in his mind. We've seen that cliff, or I guess that edge before when he's like looking onto All Might, and you see like where, you know, I think the first time we seen that was with Hawks looking at Endeavor trying to reach number 1, and he had like a rock and like one plank of wood. Where like when he looks at Toya, he like saw the potential for him to just cross the bridge and like on a steady bridge, you know, or like cross the cliff on a steady bridge. You know what I mean? Because we've seen that imagery before. You know, Endeavor on one side, All Might on the other, and he's trying to reach that. So I think that was very like pretty cool, like callback and symbolism and all that stuff. But
no, I agree. That was it was very. It's also kind of interesting how even in I'm kind of torn on that panel because I get what you're saying, and I totally agree, and I love it just because, you know, you're making that callback. The thing that I get kind of torn about when I see that particular panel is rather than kind of standing up and being proud and like, you know, kind of pushing and ushering his son across that bridge, he's kneeling at the other side, and there's still this like disappointment to not cross it himself. And you know, I kind of disliked that a little bit, just from the standpoint of, you know, if you're going to force your ambitions and your dreams upon your kid, when you do so, or if they achieve them, you have to do it in like a positive manner. Yeah. And I think him kind of kneeling and being in that position kind of like taints it a little bit, if you know what I mean. I think in this instance, I'm just really, you know, kind of projecting my own feelings and my own analysis onto it, but that is kind of the idea that I'm having right now.
Yeah, of course.
On that same page, actually, what I kind of want to touch on very briefly is in the very top panel, he says, "Ow." And then you see Toya, and he's kind of got like a little bit of a burn on his arm.
Yeah.
I know Endeavor in this chapter mentioned that there was very much...
He overheats also.
He overheats, right? So do you think like that's kind of the beginning? Because what's also very interesting is I'm pretty sure one of Dabi's stitches are exactly where that like wrist burn is.
Well, the funny thing is, yes, a lot like his like patchwork burn marks. A lot of it are like they mentioned like, oh, we couldn't like find some of his body like. I think they found like his lower jaw, and obviously when we see Dabi, like he doesn't like his lower jaw is like attached. You know,
Oh my god, yeah. So you think that's not even his own like bottom half of his face? That's crazy.
probably not. No, that's why he's like stitched up, and that's why he could probably use his fire powers way more now. He probably doesn't hurt him because it's not his skin, or he probably doesn't have nerves on his skin.
On his skin anymore. That would make a hell of a lot of sense. Yeah.
So like those burn marks, or at least the parts that he has, are like either something else, or maybe it's severely burned where like it's just he doesn't have like it's extreme nerve damage. So yeah, but they mentioned the jaw part, and like, oh, that's interesting because one of his distinct features of Dabi is like the stitch up jaw thing. So yeah, that was a good like callback, or not, I want to say callback, but like okay, yeah, like his character design have a reason. So
yeah, no, yeah, you're connecting all the dots. Sure. What's really also interesting to me is like this is getting broadcasted nationally at the same time, right? Yeah. This information is Ventura. I gotta ask you to pause for a second. Sorry. Sorry, you can unpause if you didn't, or just edit that little clip out. Totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it was getting broadcast. It was getting broadcast.
Yeah, so this is like information that's becoming privy to everybody at the same time, and I kind of liked how it didn't just focus on Endeavour. Like Endeavour is obviously very much at the heart of this chapter, but if you go to kind of the next pages, like even members of the League of Villains are like, "Whoa, like Dabi never told us that. Like, why didn't he tell us that?"
Well, like Dabi's first introduction was like, "I'm going by Dabi." That's what you're gonna know me by, and that's it. So.
Yeah, don't worry about anything else. Yeah, no, you're very right.
I always remember that. I always remember his first introduction. It's like I go by Dabi these days. I'm like, okay, you're something. So, but continue. Keep cutting you off.
For sure. Mike, I guess like some questions that come to mind for me are, has this been his plan since the beginning? Like, is he just using the League of Villains to get revenge on his dad? Like, does he even care, or did it start off as like? I guess kind of my question in here, I'll just pitch this at you, is I don't understand how Toya's development kind of led to this, because, it's not like it's not like Endeavour, like, truly forced him into this situation and got him killed, right? Like, it happened from I guess kind of what I understand of the chapter. It's not exactly, like, intentional, so what were the other like extenuating circumstances and factors that created this situation, this scheme, and this scenario? Like, what do you think on the outside that maybe we haven't seen yet kind of created this instance?
Oh, like his true. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I would think so. Like, yeah, he probably wanted like more I don't want to say people to back him up, but I guess doing it on his own would have been more difficult. But I mean, he has the brains for it. I mean, he made the quirk guy to like broadcast a lot of stuff and like edit shit out to make it seem like the heroes are bad guys. So he definitely has like a master plan. I mean, and he doesn't care about a lot of like, he doesn't care about Shigaraki's plan, if I remember correctly, right? I think all he really cares about, I mean, he has similar, his ideas do align with like Shigaraki's, where like he wants to dismantle like the heroes, because especially like evident in this like whole chapter where like, look at your heroes, like they're not perfect. And it's kind of funny because like going on through the whole chapter, like he's right, because you see a lot of like advertisements of the heroes, very like superficial stuff, like I don't know, you see like a Hawk's drink or something like that later. Yeah, Sea Wings, like I don't know what the advertisement for, like yeah, kind of similar to like The Boys, you know what I mean, where like heroes,
A-Train's got shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, I got
I mean Washy Wash has like a soap, it seems, the shadow.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. No, he does, yeah, in the billboard. So like,
is it in the panel? I must have missed that detail.
Yeah, it's like lower, So
to be honest, there was a lot of dialogue in this chapter, so my eyes were definitely
all over the place.
I definitely wasn't as focused on the art this time around. I will admit that for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, his goals just kind of align, and he's not, he'll kill. I don't want to say he'll kill anybody, but he's not afraid to do it, so to reach this goal. But yeah, I think the goal was to like just show off, like, yo, look at all this. And again, it just I said before, it probably just aligned with Shigaraki. Now, is he gonna stay with the League of Villains? I would assume so. Yeah.
It's too early to say, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't think personally, because he's kind of like hitting his point of like supreme villainacy, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think he'll probably kind of maybe do his own thing at this point. Maybe not. It's really hard to say. Um, you were kind of making me think about when you were just kind of talking there was, and I'll rephrase it as a question. Do you think that Toya's like, sorry, Endeavour was a hero. Endeavour is your father. Your father's like one of the best heroes. So, do you think he thought so highly of him that his failures, like, just shattered him basically? Do you think that was maybe the motivate? Because, sorry, I'll go a little further. Just your, it's not just a hero failing you. It's your father. It's your family.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go totally off the rails, but psychiatry. They always talk about how important it is to have like both parents in your life, yada yada yada. So when a parent's role in your life is doubly so, right? Like he's a hero and he's your father. How shattering to a psyche can that be? And maybe after going back and forth, maybe that's the reason. Do you think that's a possibility?
Um, that's a good point. I'm not too. I can't really say.
I'm going a little off. It's hard to say. You can't really answer. We don't really know. Sorry, it was just kind of something that came up, and I was like,
Because if you're going with
pursue that.
if you're going with parents, I mean, yeah, you do see a lot of like two parent households in this like story. When it comes to like Bakugo or Deku. Well, I guess Deku we haven't met his dad yet, but I wonder if he'll be significant later down the road. But how?
I don't know. That's what I was just thinking as we were mentioning that. I'm like, we still haven't seen Deku's dad, so who fucking knows, man?
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
true.
who knows?
Yeah. I'm not too sure, but I'm yeah. This chapter is
We'll have to wait and see, right?
yeah for sure. But him just very much trying to convince the public like, hey, look at this. Well, and I think you were gonna mention with the public when you were mentioning them, and he was broadcasting it, how some people were just kind of going on with their day. You know what I mean? Probably not paying attention.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the thing to an extent too. Is um, there was a very like interesting conflict between this kind of like being desensitized in a weird way because when you live in a hero society, right? Like as weird as it's gonna sound, I'm sure a villain pops up on that jumbotron in Shibuya, like
Pretty
probably
awful.
once a week,
Yeah, and
right?
I'm like, oh, the
You
heroes
know,
got it, and you're probably like
um,
very, feel safe. And like, yeah, they got it. I don't gotta worry about nothing like
yeah, you're like, whatever, right? You're kind of so, and it's interesting because in that panel where it is up on that jump on, is only some people are stopping to look.
that.
Others
Okay.
are still like pretty content on just going about their business. And then we see his daughter, we see the other son, and then if you go even a page further, you see the kid that he saved, right?
Yep.
I guess almost mini Deku, if you will, because he's kind of like
The
the
fan. Yeah.
Deku for
Yeah.
Endeavor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
Kind of thing.
sure. He
Um,
became a meme in that world too with the T-shirt and everything. So,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So it was interesting to me to see kind of that conflict and see how kind of far reaching they were trying to make it. I really appreciated that because it goes to show how ingrained in the life of everybody that like hero society has kind of become. Because even look at the daughter, right? Like I didn't know she was a teacher, but like clearly she is because the panels that they have,
Yeah.
and like somebody clearly like sliding open the door and like
And
trying to
like,
get her attention. She's
yeah,
like,
because
oh, what the shit is going on?
yeah, because
You know?
it's and it's kind of crazy because like all this stuff is going on right now. So like people have their own lives. I guess you can't stop human society just because there's a huge incident, right? With like anything. So this,
No, and you're right. And I think what's also kind of interesting about that is, we haven't been thinking about what society's doing at this time. And I think there was a huge, huge opportunity here, and he nailed it by jumping back to society and be like, you have to remember, like, yeah, that fight's going down in that city and like everything's obliterated, but there are millions of other people in this country who, they don't even know that's going on right now. They have no relationship to that, but they're still equally impacted by it
oh, for
for
sure.
completely different reasons.
I
And
mean,
I thought that was so cool because there's been a lot of, I guess, kind of build up in terms of the far reachingness of the hero society and like it needs to collapse and stuff like that. But I didn't really felt we had kind of seeing the impact quite as much until we're seeing it kind of here. In all honesty.
Yeah. Did you okay? So reading through this chapter, we're not gonna talk about how towards it ends. Did you honestly think? Because when he was talking about Hawks, right? I was like, is he getting like when he was talking about Hawks and like, oh, he's this and that? I'm like, is he getting his information wrong? Because I'm like, I know Hawks was like still hiding his like true intentions from Endeavor and also from the League of Villains. So, but we as readers know. So I was like, I'm like, is he telling the truth or is he lying? Like,
I don't know, because it's funny that you say that, because I was reading that too and I was true about Hawks, because I don't remember any of that coming up.
Yeah.
It could have been fabricated, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they do that, right? If you're going undercover, you get a persona, they give you like a backstory.
Yeah.
They most likely establish the crime to corroborate your backstory, all that kind of crap. Right? So it's very difficult to say, and
But it's kind of funny because like when we first got introduced with Hawks, like he was kind of like sus or whatever, but then afterwards we learn we see a little bit of his backstory, like he was an Endeavor like fanboy because he had a little like t-shirt I think, or like plush, and like he has what's his name, oh my god, the Shadow Kid. Like he trained him for like I guess for like a semester or something, not a semester but like
Tobayami,
like and like we that's one of them, a main character of the cast. So like, I'm like, I guess he's not bad. So it's just kind of like, oh wait, did he really do all this stuff that he just mentioned? You know what I mean? So for a second,
you're right, and it's kind of interesting also that that's getting publicized to the general masses. I don't even know, man.
Like I honestly, I was surprised when he killed Best Genius. I'm like, what? Did he? I don't think he did. So I'm like, where he's getting his information from? So I guess they must have been false info that Dabi must have had. Because again, Hawks is like a double agent where like he was supposed to infiltrate, but again, I don't think but he couldn't tell the heroes either. You know what I mean? He could only
No, yeah, and because he ended up using that book, right, to communicate with them. Cause he was so like ingrained.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I was actually surprised to see the turnaround on this Hawks information so quickly as well, just in general. But, it just ties into what you were saying earlier, where that guy, edits the video on the fly and, got it all done, But, I don't know why this guy's carrying a camera and a computer around in a fight this big, but, whatever.
But it's funny with Hawks, I take, Hawks, I forgot what it was, but I forgot who he agreed with, where, heroes do need to, kind of change. I think he does know where, heroes has become too, I guess for lack of a better word, superficial. You know what I mean? Very advertisement. I mean he's not. I don't want to say a victim of it, but yeah, you see, he's popular and he's the number 2 hero and stuff like that. I think, and I forgot
he's
again.
Not worried about the popularity scale.
No, he actually just wants to save people, and I forgot who he agreed with. I think it was the number 2, the number 1. Oh yeah, I think he agreed with Endeavor and stuff like that. So, but when he's like, oh man, is Best Genius really gone? But no, that's not the case. But I'm not gonna lie, man, one of my favorite panels in this chapter was as he saying his big speech, anyone witnessing all this would have been half as stupid to lose fate, right? Thanks for growing up strong till now, Endeavor. And then he does the ultimate, Endeavor is still in shock, right? Which I'm not surprised, right? Because
you know what? It's funny that you say that. That was something I was gonna later when I was talking about we see Endeavor pained, and I mentioned that last chapter as well. It was very interesting, right? Because his son's standing there father, we gotta do this, get your head, he's basically get your head out of your ass. You can't have a moment like this as the number 1 hero, and I thought that was actually super super interesting. Because one thing that I've kind of always loved is we've seen All Might and we've seen now Endeavor have these moments where it's the next generation kind of inspiring them, right? Because remember, even in the first episode, All Might, he was kind of just trying to slink away from the slime a little bit, right? He wasn't trying to deal with it. He's like, somebody else will come deal with it. I gotta get away. And then Deku runs in and stuff like that, and he's like, oh man, how can I call myself a hero if this kid does it and I can't even stand up to that?
And the kid doesn't have
Endeavor's
a quirk.
kind of put in an equally serious situation, but the emotional impact and repercussions of this one are just so much higher, right? Because it's not any villain, it's your son, and it's got to be really weird for Shoto because he's sitting there wait, this is my dead brother who's now alive, and I'm so confused.
And
you
he's,
know,
I mean,
'cause
and
he's the youngest, so he doesn't have a clue what's going on.
yeah,
Right?
but he's also like tearing up and like all the emotion he's like feeling. I can't even imagine. So
You can feel it, right? Like
yeah,
the emotion on 12 and 13 that he's showing, just on the middle of 12, he's just got kind of like a solo frame there.
yeah.
It's basically dead center, and I think that's great. And then it's him and Dabi, and it's kind of like, again, one of the biggest things that we keep talking. Well, sorry, I guess we've been talking about it, but I keep kind of bringing it up. I guess is there's always these things of like consequences in this arc, right? And the past coming back to haunt you and all this type of stuff. And it's kind of really interesting because if you look at the frown versus like Dabi's maniacal smile,
Yep.
Either one of them could have been that person. And it's also very interesting because
I agree with that. Yeah.
Dabi's right eye is only shown, and that's and like both of his are injured, but both of Shoto's are shown, and only one of them is injured. And for me, there's almost like he saw the other side, if you know what I mean. He was able to get over his anger at his father. He was able to get over those emotions.
Yeah.
And he's able to see everything with like clear eyes, kind of thing.
Even
like polluted, right?
But I do agree with, like, he's able to see, like, with both eyes, even with a scarred eye, you know what I mean? Like, he can still see. And I guess that's kind of clarity. Because, he has, he had problems with his mom, too, and stuff like that. So, and he still,
Yeah, he thought his mom, like, hated him and all that type of stuff, right? So, yeah, no, and it's really interesting to see that. And sorry, that was trying to tie into your emotion. And I think it's all kind of, it hits, like, a high point in the next page, where he's just like, get moving, like, you got to protect them, like, worry about the rest later, that yell is like, there's something about the art in that panel and his face, there's such confliction. And then same even with Endeavour, right? Like, he's literally a deer in the headlights. He doesn't have a clue of what's going on.
Yeah, because he's still in shock that his son is like, that cannot be real. And then what makes it even like more like, I guess, deer in the headlights, like you said, this man uses his like ultimate move. And I'm like, oh my god, what a like,
yeah, what a punch in the face, right?
Exactly,
like,
what a punch in the gut.
That you didn't show me, and I'm gonna use it against you, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure it showed him, but like, it's just like, yo, like we know because we've seen that move before, right? The flash fire fizz, for me, like we've seen that. So it's like, oh man, like against the highway, the high end one against Shigaraki. So it's like it's just a significant move. So it's just to see, like, oh, he's not lying. You know what I mean? Or at least,
No.
Yeah.
No, not. Yeah. You know what? Maybe that's kind of part of the reason for that is if you had any doubts, well, here's the signature move, and I can use it too. And not only can I use it, but my flames are friggin' stronger. So good luck dealing with that, right? But man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't have a clue about how this chapter was about to get resolved. Like, he was about to rip out that flash fire fist, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And then you flip to the final pages, and this stuff's coming out of the sky, and I'm like, what is that? And then next thing I see, like, apologies for the delay. I'm like, what's going on here? And then boom, as of today, Best Venus is back on duty.
And then, like, what a, like, oh my god, I was so happy to see him. Like, he's flying from, like a jet, like a Quinjet looking thing with, like, I assume is like fabric machines, because that's like they're, because remember, he can control
that's gotta be what it is. Yeah.
Like, because you control, like, fabric and stuff like that, so, like, he can control the fabric around him, so those are, like, fabric rollers, I don't know what we call them, but, like,
yeah. They're like spindles or something like that.
And he's like,
stuff. Yeah,
and obviously he could, like, stop anyone with clothes, right? So, yeah, and oh my god, what a, like, goddamn save. So, his information was wrong. Kind of makes you think where he got it from.
Maybe that just goes to speak, and the heroes have always been a little bit further ahead, right? If they were able to fake that and get him, because to be honest, when that information came up, I don't remember that being brought up in earlier chapters.
No, not that I can remember either, and I don't think it was, but like that's why it was like it was new information. I'm like, oh man, did he killed him? And like even reading, I'm like, no, he didn't. Like heck no, like but it's still like continuing on. I was like, oh, okay, good. Like, yeah, that's for sure he didn't. He didn't. Hawks didn't kill Best Genius. That'd be such a
That's Genius, yeah. And no, I loved it, right? And to be honest, like I'm not gonna sit there and be like best Genius is like the coolest hero, but he's a top 10, so he's
yeah.
obviously powerful. And it was such a good entrance. And to be honest, he's probably one of the top 10 heroes that we've seen the least of, and who hasn't really gotten a big time to shine because he was injured from one of the previous incidents, right? So to see him kind of come in here with such a huge impact, I was like, I love. Great, like it was heartwarming because it's really funny because again, talking about consequences, the past is coming back. They're trying to challenge the Hero Society, and then
but the
heroes manage kind of again, it's
they're
that
still
idea
pushing.
that we were talking about.
They're still pushing through no matter what. Like, and I'm
Exactly.
actually hoping like well, how ending this whole chapter and stuff like that. How Dabi's like revealing like about himself and like Endeavor's past. I want the heroes to still like continue doing their job no matter what the public thinks of them. Kind of similar to like vigilantes or something like that, where like I'm pretty sure there'll be a point where like society was like, "Yo, no, we don't want you," but they'll continue to go even if they hate them. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's kind of like the Incredibles in a way, right?
Yeah.
Where you cause a lot of damage, but we're far worse off without you than we are with you.
Yeah.
So I agree with that, and I was super happy to see this reveal come out like this.
In for the save, man. Fourth quarter, like.
Right? Literally, fourth quarter, 2-minute warning. You're coming in. All right, guys, don't worry. I brought a crap ton of fabric, and everybody's staring at you like, "Are you on crack, man?" Because I don't know what you're gonna do. And then all of a sudden, that flash fire prominence burn just like it fizzles out like a little. You put him out like a candle, basically. He's like, "No, thanks. We're not gonna see that today." So. To be honest, I got no clue now. Like this, the trajectory of this arc, I couldn't tell you, man.
Like it's still like high octane. Like okay, now we got Beth.
It is.
Now we got Best Genius. These guys are still trying to escape. Deku and Bakugo are still like injured, so they can't really move much unless Deku's gonna be crazy again. But yeah.
No, I don't think so. Not yet. And, you thought the Hero Society was going to get undermined and broken up, and then he comes in and he's saving the day, Best Genius. I also wasn't expecting to get as much background on Toya right away as we did today. So, to be honest, there was such a crazy amount happening in such a short amount of time, and there's still so much more to come. It's just like, man, the pacing for this arc has been obscene. It's been so good. Everything's just getting integrated really, really well.
Yeah.
And, just, again... to see My Hero coming up to its 7th year, and to see it's obviously longer due to breaks and stuff like that, but to see it coming in at that range and to have it be at kind of like its peak in terms of reveals and action and character progression and stuff like that, it's like keep trucking along, man, because clearly you know what you're doing as an artist and as a writer, and it's chapters like this that make you understand why My Hero is as popular as it is. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But it was a great chapter. Like, it was just super hype. I mean, especially towards the end, like, oh, man, like, the goddamn save. I'm just happy because it's been, not that it's been dreading, but it's like, man, these villains are just like, oh, it's been hard for the heroes. And they have everyone there. Well, like, aside from, like, the injured ones. But, like, it was still a hard fight, regardless of like how many heroes they have and how many died and how many got injured, and stuff like that. With the villains were probably like a quarter compared to like all the villains. The heroes had the villains had like a quarter of like what the heroes are. So, and to still like be on the back pedal of it and like now to like with the save, I'm happy. It's like a relief a little bit. You know what I mean?
I get you. I totally do. It's like, you before you fell off the cliff, you got caught.
Yeah.
And you're like, thank God for that.
Yeah. And each chapter has been like just up and like, oh man, like how much
Peak
more?
And Valley and Peak and Valley.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, it's just been like, not that you have your down moments or nothing like that, but it's like, oh man, like this is just, it's not stopping, so to speak.
No, sorry, I meant like the peaks and the valleys from like the emotional standpoint.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, you're just on a roller coaster going through all of this stuff, and
yeah.
it's been a wild ride, but it's been a blast.
I feel you. Any last thoughts? Like, you think how the next chapter is gonna go, or like
And no, honestly, man,
that's about it, right?
we also just like plowed through like a 2 hour recording session, so
Yeah,
um, you know, I'm kind of drained of stuff like that.
that's perfectly
Again, you
fine.
know,
I mean,
keep
just
keep supporting everything,
yeah,
and that's kind of my big thing.
yeah. I mean,
My-
just like I was gonna say, like, since we're kind of done, yeah, just subscribe, like, share, do what you can, listen in the background or don't, doesn't really matter. I just want to thank everyone just that gave us a listen, you know, and we're still gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, yeah, to be honest, we're 2 weeks in, and we've actually gotten some views. So thank
Yeah.
you very much. I'm very appreciative of that. We're gonna keep cranking it out. Since My Hero is on a 2 week break as of this chapter, that's gonna give us 2 weeks to probably do some subs. And by subs I mean we're gonna make substitutions. I think Build King will probably become a regular series. We'll see.
Yeah,
And I think since we're gonna have a 2 week break with My Hero, we'll try and get this month's Dragon Ball Super in there, and maybe we try some World Trigger. We try some Boruto. Which, speaking of Boruto, I just want to end on this note. I found out some interesting information today, which we can talk about maybe for another episode. Kishimoto, I
yeah.
believe is the name
Kakashi
of
Kishimoto.
the author.
Well, yeah, Kishimoto.
Bro, he's like taking over Boruto apparently.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So maybe we do another one on that. We'll see, but more content to come. You know, thanks again, and yeah, we'll catch you next time in the console.
All right, take it easy.